Hello everyone and welcome to the Gaming Growth Analyst. My name is Anthony, I'm the Gaming Growth Analyst, and today we're going to talk about data and AI. AI feeds on data, so the link should be logical, but I feel like sometimes people talk more about large language model, machine learning and things, but forget to talk about the data that's behind it. What I'm going to do with this blog, this podcast, everything is try to sensitize user and people and stakeholders and executive about how sometimes data is not taken as seriously as it should be in a business. I think as a business, what you need to do with AI is you have the logical things. So, for example, in user acquisition, one of the hot topic of today is how can I use AI to make more creative, right? Everyone's making 100, 200, 300, I don't know how many creative the month, every 2 months, every 3 months, I don't know how many thousand a year. Like it's totally crazy out there. And that's a lot using AI. You still have people involved in some of those processes. You still have creative made manually, if I may say. But those creative in user acquisition are one of the main use cases of AI in mobile right now. I think there are other use cases, but as a business, first of all, you need to make sure that your infrastructure is ready for AI. What I mean by that is people need to be open to change. And if you want to do AI using your internal data, your data needs to be at the top level of what data can be. So let's split that in two, shall we? First one, people need to be open to change. As I said, you can use AI that's already available out there to build um, creatives. So you have Sora from OpenAI, and you have a few other tools out there that allows you to build easily creative playables, video, whatever for your games. I think that's the first part. You can also use AI for helping you with code, using help you with the documentation and automating some processes. Those use case of AI, say, is using AI that's built by a third party compared to your business. But people will only use it if they're first of all trained about it, and second of all they're open to changes, because you're gonna have people that have been doing the same job for a certain amount of time that don't want this new tool to come in. I've seen it happening with developers. They just try to search for hours and hours in documentation where just maybe a query on ChatGPT will have worked. Uh, that is life experience. That's something I've seen recently, and I think that's like trying to get to that stage is already quite some work. And it's not a data work, it's a leadership work. It's trying to encourage people to experiment, trying to encourage people to use it, but also be mindful about the use case, because you know that large language model to not think they just predict the next world based on plenty of information and plenty of input, plenty of context. It's still very powerful, but it won't do the job of a human being, at least for now, or what we're doing, right? If we're talking about AI use case internally, as in you build your own large language model systems on anything, you got to realize the investment you need to get to large language model is a lot of data for it to be efficient. ChatGPT skimmed the whole internet and is still skimming the whole internet. It's not easy for everyone. I think as a business, in any case, you need to make sure that data structure is good, because even if you use external tools and you want to automate, I don't know, very specific steps within your analysis for new games, for example, you have a template for how new games work. Usually it takes an analyst like 2, 3 days to do it. Maybe it could take an AI like a day or less than a day. Maybe the solution is not AI, and that's something you should consider. Maybe the solution is just an algorithm that goes through all the charts that you pre-made and just put them on the PowerPoint, and then I goes through and just write down the analysis of the game specifically, or add new charts or stuff like that. Like, large language model is not always about replacing people. It should not be about replacing people, about empowering them. And sometimes it's not the good solution to use it. And sometimes using large language model to solve a problem, it's like using a tank to kill a fly. Yes, you will kill the fly, but also make a big hole, and maybe you didn't want that big hole to be there in the first place because it's your garden or your house. So as a business, you need to be conscious that large language is not always the solution, but sometimes other statistical methods will work better, or even just a script will work better. And I'm seeing a lot of people hyping with various things, and I'm just like, guys, like, just go back to the basic. What are we trying to solve? What's the problem we're trying to solve? How are we trying to solve it? And yes, large language model can be a solution to that problem, but it should not be the solution by default. It should be a solution because it makes sense, because it brings value. Don't forget that if you're currently owning a business or if you're currently managing a business. Um, Also invest on your people internally. If you have a head of data or lead data and you want to do AI implementation to improve the value of your business, try to upscale that person, try to see how they can achieve that. But also be aware that sometimes if your data has always been a bit messy or not perfect, whatever you're going to implement on top of it is not going to be perfect. Like we often say it in large language model, right? Or AI or machine learning or anything, garbage in, garbage out. So make sure that what you put in the model, whatever the model, even if it's prediction, it's not machine, like it's not AI or large language model, it's just statistics and calculations, make sure that this data is clean. And I think a lot of people out there don't do clean data, which is really annoying. If you want more about clean data, you can check my ebook, Complete Data Guide, Complete Data Quality Guide, available. Plenty of links. I'll put one in the description. So that's what you need to do as a business. Upskill your people. Try to see if they're open, like push them to motivate them to be open to change and scope correctly what you're trying to implement and why the value of this could come from tool A, B, or C. If you want to build your own large language model, or even if you want to build tools that allow people to be more efficient, how do you structure an analytics team? I think as a lead or head of data, if you want to add AI to it to sound fancier, just do it. But at best, you should need to have someone that owns the entire data within a business. It can be a chief data officer, it can be a head of data, it can be a director of data. I don't care his title. You need someone that has the management of data. And I'm saying that it counts for AI, but it also counts for everyday business. Like data is powerful, and if you misuse it, you can hurt your business. Have a head of data. If you don't have a head of data or lead data, you're not a data focused company. You're a company that cosplay as a data focused company. And I think you should always keep that in mind. Also, check the quality of your data. Check what your team is doing in analytics, how they're struggling with stuff. Do they need more people doing very specific talents? Maybe the questions are too repetitive. What can we automate to make people happy? Your structuration of your analytics moving forward should be the same as before, but should be even more important now that data is even more important for large language model or machine learning systems. Even if you're third party, that should be your core thinking. How can I make that better? And sometimes you don't have the time, right? You have finance to manage, HR to manage, UA to manage, you have product to make. Like that's why you hire a head of data. That's why you hire the lead data, whatever his title, right? That's why you hire someone to take that old data thinking, that data infrastructure, and own it for itself. Um, Today, as an employee, I think you can feel stressed about AI, large language model, machine learning. You can say, well, that's going to take my job. Well, yes and no. I think in big companies, what the trend we've seen over the past year or so is big companies shrinking, not because they're making less profit. If anything, they make more profit than ever before, but because in part, they're trying to replace people with AI. You have companies that are just writing AI code. I think it was Google was saying 30%. 30% of its code was AI generated. So it means that you still have humans behind it to review it. I hope, Jesus Christ. But that's a reality. You're gonna have big companies that do that. I do not think that's what AI should be used for, large language model, but I think that's a reality. And if you want to secure your job because maybe your company is gonna follow on the steps of those big companies, is how can you upskill yourself as a person to be able to survive this change? First of all, you need to learn how to use the tool, because if you learn how to use the tool, you're going to be more productive. You need to learn the downfall of those tools. Those tools are not perfect. They're not going to make an amazing piece of work from start. You're going to have to work on it, still work, but it's just a shortcut some steps along the way. I'll talk after how I use it. So as an employee, just get used to the tool, understand how you can use them yourself to make it more efficient, talk about it to your manager, make sure you're visible about what you're trying to achieve as well. Sometimes visibility matters more than the work you actually produce. If you produce amazing work and you're not visible to stakeholders, they're gonna forget you exist. And it's a sad truth. It's like large language model or not. So as an employee, upscale your skills. Always. That's always the case, but upscale the skills related to large language model and see, or AI or machine learning automation, and see how those tools can help you in your job. And sometimes you won't need large language model to automate your job or upscale your job. You're just gonna need an automation script. And just building that, you're like, hey guys, look, I've saved half a day worth of salary every week because I automated that portion of my job, which was very repetitive. And it's a win. Like, you just have to show it. As I said, I don't think it will replace any job. I just think some companies will replace job with it. So as a team, you're gonna have to do with less people, more or the same, which is not great. I think we should use those tools in order to boost the productivity of the teams, not doing anything else. Personally, how do I use AI on a large language model? Well, I've been using machine learning statistics for a while now, so that doesn't count. I love automation. I've always automated stuff. I didn't wait for a guy to make ChatGPT to automate my task. Uh, I hate repetitive tasks, so I'm trying to automate them when it's possible. But large language model is something I use more, and I use a lot linked to programming, SQL, and all those things when I forget a function. Like, I forgot how to do that, so I can Google it and try to find it and read the condition. I can be like, please write an example, and it just write the example. It's just faster. Yes, it saves me a few seconds, but it's a few seconds you save, and sometimes you can get more ideas. Also, I like to use it for API calls. So I think we all, in data, a lot of people use Facebook API, right? But it's such a pain to use when you use it for the first time. So what you can do is just go on ChatGPT, link the documentation, and just ask it to write a script to pull that data from that endpoint. And it's going to do it. It's not going to be right. It's going to be probably full of faults or not optimized or whatever. But at least you have a start. At least you understand how the API needs to be called. And if you're used to it, you don't need that, obviously. But if you start it and you want to go fast on that project, that can help. And that's why I used it a few times. Like, it was an API from a platform I never used before. I was like, okay, how am I calling that? Using ChatGPT saved me like 2 days worth of work. That's it. It's that simple. I don't think I use it for any product, any product or any output or any deliveries that I give to stakeholders is not using ChatGPT. I can use it for some formulations or some things or brainstorming, but I will never use it for the final output because I think it's not there. I think there's no reflection, right? As a data person, your strongest suit is going to be your understanding of the context of the business, of the data you're applying, of the product you're going. If a ChatGPT doesn't know what's the context of the business, there is no data input in to know that your business is what is your business trying to achieve now, forward, etc. There is no data put in to say, well, the data quality for that thing was not great at that time, so we need to be careful about those insights, right? Only you know those things, or until you track them and automate that part of the process, which would be a good thing to automate your part of the process. But it doesn't know it by default. You do because you have to work on it. You have that data, you have that context. So either you automate that part of the job. So ChatGPT knows exactly what the data problem was when, so you have help with the output, or you decide to not do it and you do it for yourself and use ChatGPT for the brainstorming. It's up to you. Personally, I use it for brainstorming. I know what the data is, how it is. If I had one dream, just to finish this, if I had one dream about all those large language model, machine learning, statistics and everything, it's just people realizing that it's a hype world. It's going to help a lot of people. It's going to automate a lot of things. It's going to make our life easier and it's going to increase the productivity overall. But I would like people to not forget that you still have people. Like, if you automate your entire workforce, let's put it to the extreme. If you automate your entire workforce, who's going to spend money on your product? Nobody, because nobody's going to make money. Like, outside of the big guys, you still have the human involved. That's a bit of a silly example, but you have the human involved in everything. And large language models don't think, you think. Use that to your advantage. Use what the large language model are able to do, which is doing the grunt work, and use your brain power to go above and beyond what you could have done before. Because before you should have done that grunt work, it would have taken you X amount of days, right? That counts for analytics, data science, engineer, anything. Just go beyond what the machine learning can do, what the large language model can do. And that's it. Obviously, there is a lot more to talk about. If you have any questions, just drop them on the comments. I'll have a look at it. But in any case, that was the Gaming Growth Scientist. Have a good day, everyone.